Is it proper to have political signs in the background?
We are live, FYI.
Doesn't matter.
I'm going to defer that question to our corporation counsel, Mr. Pinter, for a ruling on that.
Background.
We are live, FYI.
Doesn't matter.
Thank you, Taylor.
It's, Mr. President, it's in someone's house. It's a private home. There's nothing inappropriate about it.
Okay. All I want to
Okay.
know.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pinter.
Okay, as said, we are live on YouTube and we are recording.
Okay, we're ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Joe Cabell. I'm the chairman of this ad hoc committee. Along with myself on this committee is Vinny DiGiulio, majority leader, and Mr. Farley Santos is also a member of this committee. We have multiple ex officio members. I'm doing the best I can to write your names down so I have you in the minutes, but as most of you know, you only see 9 at a time, and so do I. So I'm hoping to get everybody captured in this. If I forget somebody, we can correct it in the minutes later on tonight. Our purpose here tonight is to review the request from the October 6th council meeting, item number 6 on the agenda regarding the renaming of the wastewater treatment plant to the John Oliver Memorial Sewer Plant. And I'm going to go right now to petitioner Mayor Boughton for just a brief overview, since we've all been through most of this already. And then I'll open the floor up to the committee for the committee questions. And then I'll open the floor up to ex officio members for questions. And then we'll move on from there. So Mayor Boughton, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate everybody making time to come in tonight, or come in virtually. So we, as you know, this began several months ago. I think everybody's pretty much up on the back and forth. And this is clearly a lighthearted, fun thing during a very, very difficult time in terms of the pandemic and how we ended up here. At the end of the day, Mr. Oliver and myself decided that we would make this a more than just a lighthearted, fun thing back and forth, that we would raise money for worthy charities within Danbury and in Connecticut. So to that end, I had proposed that we name the Danbury wastewater treatment plant the John Oliver Memorial Sewer Plant, and that he would make a substantial donation to various charities. One of them is the ALS Foundation of Connecticut, $5,000. The donor choose for $25,000. That funds Danbury teachers. They put up an item like they might need a new board on their chalkboard. You could donate to that specific thing. You could fund the whole thing. You can fund part of it, whatever. He's already done that, by the way. He spent about $30,000 on Danbury teachers' requests and funded every request that was up on the board up to, I think, might have been Labor Day or even after Labor Day. So now it's our time to deliver. And he also has a donation to the Connecticut Food Bank for $25,000 as well. In the interim, we also met with 4 financial institutions led by Union Savings Bank of Danbury, 2 other financial institutions that'll be coming in shortly. It'll be a group fundraising effort. Their goal is to do a little bit more than $100,000 that will go directly to the United Way's Food Pantry Initiative, which only will fund Danbury food pantries, with the goal of putting food on the table for the Thanksgiving season for the neediest among us that frankly can't afford to purchase food. And we know that food insecurity is a big deal right now. Also, I volunteered to give personal tours of the waste treatment plant. Any member of the council who wants to help me would be certainly welcome. And if you guys want to come along, and we'll just kind of do it and have a little fun, bring your nose plugs. For that costs a minimum of $500. We had our first person purchase a personal tour of the waste treatment plant today, contingent on renaming the plant for $600. So they get 500, but Veolia has volunteered to put together a swag bag for each of our tour, and you get little things in the bag that you can take with you, t-shirts, whatever, stuff like that. Those are the operators of our plant. So that will go to the United Way, and we have a system designed to mark that up. So I anticipate probably doing about 20 tours or so, roughly about $10,000 worth of tours, I would think would be fair. And again, that money will go directly to feeding needy Danbury families. So that's where we stand, and that's sort of the rationale behind us. I have put in front of the council on Tuesday night a resolution. A resolution, as you know, it does not carry the weight of an ordinance. An ordinance carries the weight of law. But I also want to remind everybody here that both ordinances can be repealed, they can be amended at any time. And resolutions generally have a lifetime of whatever the council wants, and usually can be superseded by another resolution that would direct something differently. So I wouldn't look at this as anything more than just having a good time and being able to help out some people that need help right now. Certainly nobody should take Mr. Oliver's comments literally. There's no reason that he picked Danbury. He just did it for fun. It's sarcasm and cynicism, and that's the kind of humor it is. And mine back to him saying that we would name a porta potty after him if he wouldn't come to Danbury is the same thing, right? That's basically we're just goofing around. So I came to the council because I wanted to present him with an actual resolution that was voted on by members of the city council to do this. And I want to collect the donations and get those going. That fundraising drive, by the way, from the banks includes a bank check that they're going to write, and then they're going to ask their employees and their customers to match whatever they write with. So just so you know how that works, but that'll be handled internally with them. We won't be handling the money at all. That'll go directly to the United Way, but I'll get reports each week, and I can certainly share them with the council as we get closer to Thanksgiving. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that's pretty much where I'm at. And if you have any questions, be happy to answer them for you.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Boughton. I'm going to open it up to the committee. Just a point of housekeeping, folks. If you're not speaking, could you please be sure to mute your microphones so that it just cuts down on all the background noise, because there is some chatter in the background, and we'd like to have those microphones muted, please. So at this point in time, I'm going to open up the floor to the committee members for their comments, and then I'll move on, see if that causes question and answer, and then we'll move on to ex officio members, and then look for a motion to for this full city council at the end of this. So there committee members have any comments or questions? Mr. DiGiulio or Mr. Santos?
Thank you. I did through you, the chair. I have no questions. Just a general comment that I remain in support of this. I urge everybody to remain in support of this. I think the mayor created a nice summary of exactly what it is that we're looking to do, and Danbury families and charities and such definitely win and benefit the most from this. And I would like us all to keep that in mind. And my support has continued. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DiGiulio. Mr. Santos?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I echo Vinny's comments there. I appreciate the mayor going through the donations and explaining how they're going to benefit local nonprofits. And I understand that sending items to ad hoc is the prerogative of each council member. I really don't understand why we had to send this one. I'm not sure what we are really debating here. We're talking literally about a waste transfer station. I'm sorry, a waste site. You know, we're talking about a facility that doesn't have that much notoriety for our city. If we were talking about renaming Danbury High School, you know, the Marian Anderson High School, that's something I would support as well. If we were talking about the Charles Ives Career Center, that's something that I would support as well. And just because we haven't done those things in the past doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing them in the future. I've made this comment in previous arguments and saying that eras of the past should not dictate those of the future. And I agree with it here. So I really don't know. I don't have any questions. I mean, I see the benefit for the community. The mayor outlined exactly where these funds are going, especially to the teachers who have to go on to this Donor Choose website in order to get the items that they need. That's incredible to me, and yet we're finding funding for it through this generous donation. I would love to see fervent debate in ad hoc committees in the future when we're debating greater funding for our education system. We've got a lot more important items that we can be discussing in ad hocs than this one. So, I see the levity in this. I see the comedy in this. I see how it's brought some notoriety for Danbury nationally and internationally. Perhaps we're even creating a tourist attraction. So I don't have any questions. I really don't know what we're doing here. I look forward to voting in support of it and passing it forward. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Mr. Santos. Appreciate your input. Okay, so folks, when I open it up to ex officio now, you're going to have to say your name because I can't see. I can only see 9 at a time, and we have at least 12 or 18 in attendance. At least 18 in attendance. So if you could, if anybody wants my attention, just please shout out your name, and then I'll try to recognize you, and I'll get you in order. So are there any ex officio members that wish to comment on this item tonight?
Mr. President?
Is that Mr. Rotello?
That's me.
Gotcha, Mr. Rotello. You have the floor, sir.
Can you hear me? Okay. All right. I have a question I'd like to direct to Corporation Counsel, if I may.
Yes, Paul?
Mr. Pinter, sir?
To begin, I just want to make a comment about Councilman Santos's comment. We are here for a reason. This is a matter of some import, regardless of levity. There's also a little bit of gravity here. As we know, water runs downhill, but it's a little bit more important than that. We're putting $120 million into this facility, and we have, just to assuage Mr. Santos's feelings, we have spent a lot of time debating bond issues that funneled tens of millions of dollars to schools. We have spent a lot of time debating student impact fees that have spent $500,000 plus to schools on a yearly basis. And the idea that we simply don't examine an issue because we don't feel like it, or somebody doesn't feel that they need to do that, is not specifically how the council works. Taking a few minutes out to do an ad hoc, and this one won't last more than 30 minutes to 45 minutes, is a small price to pay, I think, to get the kind of information that some of us need. I'm sure Mr. Santos is completely confident about his own thoughts, but some of the people on the council are not and would like a little bit more information. So that's why we're here. There's nothing political about it. There's nothing nefarious about it. We're just trying to look for a little bit of information before we move on. Okay, so having said that, Mr. Pinter, I'd like to, if you can explore the difference, or just explain the difference to me between a resolution and an ordinance, especially as the mayor has pointed out. It seemed a resolution seems to come with a time limit. I'm not sure this one has a built-in time limit, whether it's 6 months, a year, 50 years, 25 years. Do we set that time limit tonight? Do we sunset it? Is it automatically sunsetted? Obviously, I know that we can always come back and undo this. But if we don't do this, would this be a permanent resolution that would last until we don't do it, like an ordinance? Or does a resolution actually expire at a certain point under our ordinances and under our statutes? Thank you, Mr. Pinter.
Councilman Rotello, thank you for that question. There isn't any established date for this activity, this action by the council. This is an action that's a representation of the council's authorization to take an action that has been brought to you by the Chief Executive's office. And the resolution actually speaks for itself. It doesn't limit the action, nor does it operate to extend the action forever. It simply establishes a time and place authorization by you for an activity in exchange for something else. It's just very straightforward. It doesn't have the force of ordinances because an ordinance, as you know, is an adopted, publicly authorized and statutorily authorized action to implement permanent law. Permanent until that law is replaced as well by either repeal of the ordinance or amendment of the ordinance. So there's a substantial difference between the two. Again, I just want to narrow the answer to your question that this is an authorization by the city council to take an action as forwarded to you by the mayor.
Yeah, and again, there's no specific time limit built into this. It would essentially last until this council or another council decided to sunset it, correct?
Well, as the mayor indicated at the meeting on Tuesday night, the resolution is in place. Resolution can be withdrawn or amended later on, another resolution adopted, but for purposes of this action, this stays in place until there's another action for it.
Right. It's still like an ordinance. It would be permanent until it was undone, until it was rescinded.
Essentially.
Okay. All right. The plant has a funny technical name. Do you know the actual EPA or deep designated name for the city sewer system? Do we know that offhand? What it's actually called when we have legal issues in front of EPA and DEEP, who are giving us, millions of dollars for the nitrogen? What's the official name of the plant?
Well, we commonly have terminology in certain documents.
We've lost you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back.
I can't. Okay. Yep.
Commonly on certain documents, what we've used is the WWTP, the wastewater treatment plant. There's another term for it that's been used too, similar acronym, but they generally have the term wastewater treatment, either facility or plant in the name of the facility. That is what's used for the different authorizations. But again, it's what's used in a variety of situations.
Is it preceded by Danbury? Is it
typically
preceded by a number? I mean, how do they, differentiate our WWP from something in Idaho?
It's differentiated by identification in whatever document is being submitted, whatever grant is being requested, or whatever action is being provided. Usually you have a caption. City of Danbury, project number such and such, wastewater treatment plant or wastewater facility. So it can be embedded in the title or within the body of the document that's at issue.
Okay, and in no way, shape, or form would this have any effect, this renaming, this, I don't even know what we want to call it, this lighthearted or just ephemeral, or pick a word, this sort of non-binding renaming would have any effect whatsoever legally on this plant, our ability to attract grants, to continue receiving funds for grants that have already applied for. This will have no effect on that, correct?
I have
effect,
substantial doubt whether anyone would care who's in a
Right.
position to either help us to fund it, to operate it, or do anything with it. I think everyone would recognize that this is a good faith side effort, a beneficial action by all parties.
Okay, thanks. Look, the members of the council had some issues with this. I am satisfied with the answers that I've received tonight, so I'll turn over whatever time is left to other members of the council in favor or against, or just curious about some other issues. Thank you, Director. Appreciate that.
Okay. Any other member, ex officio member, wish to make a comment or ask a question of either Mr. Pinter or Mayor Boughton?
Can I follow up, Joe?
Sure, Mr. Chinis, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on Councilman Rotello's comment. Just so I understand, I mean, I think it's great we're getting all this money. I commend the mayor for all this. It's fantastic. But the question goes, if we had to go for bonding again, what would we call it? Would we use the John Oliver Memorial Sewer Plant as the name of the facility, or we would go out to, let's say, it's the Danbury Sewer Treatment Plant? I mean, how do we go forward with it? That's my concern.
We would use the name we've been using to date, not the ceremonial name.
Okay, and that's the key point right there, Les. This is just a ceremonial name. It's not really an official name. It's not like we are changing a street name, or it's just like they do in New York City. You know, you have Fifth Avenue, but it's also a nickname underneath it. And it's sort
Yeah,
of more
I
like a
think that everybody
ceremony.
recognizes this is not a name, the name that would be used on official correspondence. This is a name that is being used for a specified purpose. That's why if you adopt a resolution, you're accepting that representation.
All right, so it's more of a ceremonial name.
Yes.
I think that's the key here. I think if that's, I mean, with that, I think I'll support it with that, since it's only a ceremonial thing, unless I'm incorrectly understanding that. So I will support that if that's how we're going to go forward with it. I'm agreeing with that. Thank you, Les.
Thank you, Mr. Chianese. Any other ex officio member? Mr.
John,
Taversack,
a
I
quick
can see
question.
you, so I see you have your hand up. You have to unmute yourself, Bob.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
Okay, well, be honest with you, I prefer something like the City of Danbury wastewater treatment plant. You know, this is over $100 million investment by the City of Danbury, which we, the mayor and the council and all have managed to put through. And it's a state, I'm sure it's a state-of-the-art treatment plant. But we, the taxpayers, have paid for it. And I just don't feel that I say it's sort of, when I say it's trivial because of the fact that Danbury, this is being represented also as this person almost making a publicity, it's almost making a publicity thing out of it. I laud the banks of Danbury and all the groups that are willing to aid the teachers and the food banks and all. The banks of Danbury mentioned the savings, the union savings and Danbury savings have been very, very good over the years to many charities and many public things for us, for people in need in the city. So I feel those things would be coming anyway. As far as education goes, it's nice to have $25,000 and all, but you know, I'll be honest with you, there's much more that's needed in education than the $25,000. And I think those of you who know me know that I've always supported the teachers and on what I feel like a decent request for funds and so forth. I guess I'm sort of disillusioned, okay? And maybe I'll mention this at the meeting. Mayor Boughton, when you read off, I don't know how many names, remember the other night for the half hour of the public meeting? I guess it really got into my stomach there, because we have had so many more important issues before the council, from the budget to the matrix plan, and that was just just recently, things of that sort, and we have not gotten that response, and I just don't see where our priorities are on. And to me, this is not something that I feel that I can prioritize. I'm happy that everybody involved giving the funds and all. Like I said, I'm going to abstain because obviously a lot of people want this and all, but I'm not sure that really the city should have gotten into this back and forth. Okay. And I don't think it should be unanimous if there's any question. The abstention is my sign that yes, there's some good things in this and all, but just the whole fact of the way it was before the council and, maybe I just don't have a good sense of humor. I guess that's what it is. But I just want to make that point. I'd be very happy to see the city of Danbury, or if there was one individual that was responsible for engineering the waste treatment plant, having that person's name on it and so forth, I'd have no problem with it, to be honest, because it's somebody from the city of Danbury who really contributed exactly to what that waste treatment plant is. Okay, so that's all I want to say. Thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taversack. Appreciate your comments on that. Any other ex officio member? have any
Hey, Joe, I got
comments?
one.
Mr. Perkins, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to just back up a couple of the statements made by Mr. Rotello and Mr. Chinisi. These ad hoc meetings are very important. And there are very specific reasons for us to hold them as part of city government. I mean, but for the fact that we are here tonight, I would still be swayed the other way. The fact that we established that this renaming is superficial and more ceremonial, it makes me lean more toward accepting of this whole ploy. I just have a question. I'm not sure who can answer it. I from maybe best directed to one of the organizers of this.
Why don't you put it out there, Mr. Perkins, and I'll see who wants to take it.
Sure. I'm just wondering about the continuity of funds. Is this a one-time shot, or is this something that will continue on into the future?
Okay, Mr. Perkins, I think I'm going to turn that over to Mayor Boughton for an answer on that.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say a couple of things quickly as it relates to the name and this issue of ceremonial. We have a police station, which is referred to all the time as the Danbury Police Station. But if you look, it's really named after Florence Sullivan. We have a firehouse, which is always referred to as the Danbury Firehouse on New Street, which is really the Bertalovitz Firehouse. So you have to think of it in the same sort of vein. When we fill out documents, we don't fill out the Bertalovitz Firehouse, we fill out the Danbury Fire Department needs this grant or that grant or whatever. So that's not necessarily going to be an issue. You could argue, well, geez, as Mr. Taversek did, geez, we should maybe name it after engineer. I don't know if an engineer would want a sewer plant named after him. John Oliver needs this naming. He wants this sewer plant named after him. So I think there's a little bit of a difference there in terms of the type of facility that we are talking about. And I don't think we should necessarily denigrate a $25,000 donation, because some people are of the opinion that we don't have enough money for education. Not everybody said that on this panel. I get that. I think all of us, I think it's fair to say everybody on this panel, whether you're a supporter or not, is grateful for any donation to any of these entities and organizations. That it's a good thing. Are they ongoing? No, they're absolutely not an ongoing donation. And I would disagree with Mr. Tabersack. What generated these donations from the banks for the pantries was this specific action. The call that I got didn't say, hey, Mayor, now they did say today in the paper, we'll do it anyways, but they didn't say when this first started, they said, we hear you doing this. We like this. We want to get involved. How can we as economic or financial institution get involved? So this spurred that donation. So you can't just say, well, they would do it anyways. That's not necessarily true. So it is a one-time donation, Mr. Perkins. And I think it's something that all of us, I think everybody is grateful for it one way or another, whether you're for it or against it. I know all of you guys well enough to know that you're always thankful when something comes in for the city, regardless of what organization it's going to.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that explanation, but I just want to make sure that we were clear on the importance of ad hocs, and we're also clear on really the genesis of naming this whole thing from this point forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Any other ex officio member? Seeing none, I'm going to go to the committee for a
Mr. Joe.
Motion. Oh, who is that?
It's me, Elmer.
Oh, Elmer. Hi, Elmer. Elmer, you have the floor. Mr. Palmer.
Yes, I'm very happy to see that people want to come and help all of food banks in Danbury. But I have a question. This donation will be 100% to the food banks, or will all the organizations, whoever get the donations, will take their percentage to their organization, or will go directly to the banks in the food banks in Danbury?
Okay, I'm sure I had that discussion with the mayor, and he can answer that for us right now. Mayor
Yeah,
Boughton?
so absolutely. Thank you. So the United Way, first of all, 100% of these donations will go to the food pantries. There's no admin fee that they're taking out of it. The United Way will divvy this up amongst the 10 area City of Danbury food pantries that serve our community and the greater Danbury area as well. places like, but there's more to it than just this. The Daily Bread one at St. James Church, New Hope Baptist Church has one. Walnut Hill, Hillside. There's 10 of them that serve this area in various capacities.
Just to follow up, Mr. Joe.
You still have the floor, Mr. Palmer.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely it's nice, like I say, to see people to be generous to our city. And I wish Mr. Oliver can come up with maybe a little more to help other food banks, which I know, he's able to. So why not? This is a great opportunity for him to show up and help all the food banks in the city of Denver, and also to help our teachers. As you know, I always to help teachers in the schools, and I think we all get into the same plate. We always going to be able to help schools, and I'm also happy to know that the more information we can give to our community, I think the best will be. And I'm very happy to hear what's going on, and therefore I'm supportive.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer. Okay, anything else?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Let's see, who's that?
Mr. Visconti.
Mr. Visconti, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been not a very tough situation, but tough enough that you really had to sit down and think about what's right or what's wrong. I've heard a lot of things tonight that I don't have too much of a problem with. And I think one of the basic things, I took the time and sat down and started looking at figures and so on and so on. And I understand that this has been I don't want to use the word comedy, but I will, between the mayor and Mr. Oliver, and it certainly has played itself out in the right direction. When you look at what's being done here, donations to Donors Choice and the Connecticut Food Bank, the teachers, and so on and so on. We're in the middle of a very serious pandemic. Money is very, very tight. I know that because I do a lot of work with Mr. St. Hilaire, calling him all the time and seeing how we're doing with the budget and so forth. So when you sit down and you start thinking, well, here's $100,000, maybe even more, who knows? We don't know what we'll get in the people going around with the banks and so forth. But it's money that the city of Danbury will have to use for the food banks, the churches, or whatever it may be. And it's money that we didn't have to bond out or whatever you want to call it, which we've been doing quite a bit. So I think this is a good thing in the long run, and I certainly will be voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Visconti, thank you very much for your comments.
Mr. Cavo?
Mr. DiGiulio.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the full city council the adoption of the resolution naming the Danbury wastewater treatment plant, the John Oliver Memorial Sewer Plant as presented.
I will
Okay,
second
do I have a
that
second?
motion. Yes, you do.
I have a second. I have a motion made by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Councilman Farley Santos to move the resolution to the full council tonight at a special meeting, right, Mr. DiGiulio?
Yes, yes, as a special meeting following to 6:30 this evening.
Okay. So, okay, so under discussion for the committee only. Does the committee have anything else they want to add? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor of moving the resolution to the full city council tonight for a vote, signify by saying aye.
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 Or raise your hand. Okay, so looks like the ayes have it unanimously. Seeing as there may be no proper other business to properly come before this committee, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Santos. Seconded by Mr. DiGiulio. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, see everybody in about 8 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.